Konnichiwa, Nissan Silvia fans. So this is my collection to date. It's not very impressive, but I'm okay with it. It's gonna happen someday that I get each one of these body codes for the Silvia. So this is the very first generation. This is by Konami. Very small, of course. These two are the third generation. This black one is by TLV, and then this crazy Grachan one is from Aoshima. And then this is an S13, which is by Inno64. They're all pretty good models. So, being my goal to get a casting of every Silvia body or chassis style, here we have today this S15. So let's get these out of the way. I do want to give a shout out to Pocket Rocket 64. I believe that's the name of his channel. And he's got a lot of cool videos, and this is how I learned about this model in the first place. He did a video on this quite a while ago, and I just put it on my list of models to buy, and so here we are today. So this is apparently a 1999 Silvia. That's the first year that these were available, and they were sold up until 2002. And this is sadly the very last generation of Silvia, because Nissan kind of cleaned up their platforms, and only the FM platform exists today, which is used to underpins the Fairlady Z/350, 370Z, and also the regular Nissan Skyline / Infinity G35, G37. Okay, so an interesting statistic about this car is they downsized it from the previous generation to comply with Japanese compact class rules, so it's better for tax purposes in Japan. It was only sold in Japan, Australia, and New Zealand. In Australia and New Zealand, I think it was called the 200SX. So that's it. I don't really know too much. Well, I'm not going to talk too much else about it. I do talk about it maybe a little bit more in those other videos of the Silvias. So looking at these instructions here, I don't know. This is my first Diecast Masters casting, but it's very similar, if not identical, in appearance to the BM's models. I think it was BM models. Anyways, where you can replace these wheels, and I think the second set of wheels is supposed to be like a lowered stance with camber, whereas the wheels that come on it are supposed to be like the original stance that comes from the factory with factory correct wheels. So these are just instructions to get it done. It's interesting. It comes with this. It's funny because it comes in a box that looks like a container, and then it literally has a container in it. Oh look, it is BM Creations. So maybe this Diecast Masters is subcontracting it, because it does say here designed by BM Creations. Okay, so I guess I was correct. It does tell you the color in here. So there's a yellow car inside here, but oddly the box is green, and this is red. Okay, so I guess it opens here on this side. It's just some plastic. It's a plastic box. I guess it's pretty cool for dioramas, right? This is nice. This is kind of like mini GT. So that's good. Yeah, so here's the second set of wheel sets. So later on I'll pause and change the stance. But let's take a look here at the original stance and wheels here. So I did manage to pull up this photo, and let's see how good it is. Wow, that looks very similar to me. I mean, it even has got the same fog lights. I have seen photos without the fog lights, so maybe that was an option. But this one seems to be modified, because it looks like that's an intercooler and not a radiator. But interesting. It says Silvia there. The wheels here, yes, they look pretty similar to those wheels there. So I think that's pretty good from initial impressions. I guess the one thing that seems to be missing is you'll notice there's a groove right here on the side of the front bumper, and that groove is not here, which is a shame. It is over on this side, but it's just not part of the bumper. So that does seem a bit off. Alright, well, that's why I bring up the photos. Okay, what about the back view? This one's got some different style wheels on it, but yeah, the rear wing. I think the rear wing is pretty similar. You know, the colors here look similar. You can't really see the tailpipes there, but yeah, I think all in all it's relatively accurate. It just has tiny grooves missing from the fenders, but if I didn't pull up the photographs, you probably would have never noticed. Alright, so let's get a better light angle here. These are distracting. We'll move those aside. We'll start with this side for the review here. Alright, so all yellow diecast cars have a hard time covering the cracks in the casting. You'll notice it's a little darker in here in the edges, or they fill it up with a lot of paint. Like right here, there's a lot of paint in there, so you can't see the casting, but you know the crevice is almost gone as well. Whereas here the crevice is more apparent, and obviously more apparent here, but not apparent here. So there seems to be some uneven painting going on at this factory, whoever's making these things for BMs, or if they own their own factory, because clearly the paint's thick there, it's thick here, but not so thick there. So that's a little bit sad. Not too life-threatening, but just could have been better. So we got some printing here. Spec R. Oh, these cars came in Spec S, which is the base version, and Spec R. And the Spec R had a 6-speed versus a 5-speed transmission. It had some suspension upgrades, and I think thicker anti-roll bars and strut braces, and it had a different type of differential for better performance, I guess. These were all powered by inline fours, the normally aspirated versions, but Spec R probably would have had a turbocharged version, making it up somewhere around 250 horsepower. Okay, so back to this now. The wheels are nice. Let's see. What do you know? It does actually roll. I didn't expect it to, but it does. And I would say those wheels look really good. I mean, they look pretty much like those photos. Let's see about the treads. Yeah, got some realistic looking treads. We got some basic details. I do like the fact that they have the scale, what the car is, in particular Spec R. Unfortunately, it's missing like the year of copyright. You know, when was this mold first made, and like who made this thing? It would have been nice to say BMs or Diecast Masters down here. Alright. Okay, so this side, I don't notice any problems really. We got a little orange paint, and this door handle is kind of flush with the body. That's realistic to the car. Let's go to the, well, what about these mirrors? Okay, there's a little silver paint in the mirrors, and then we got some black trim color around the windows, but this is a little odd. You see this groove in the casting, but the the black is kind of missing that. It should be a little bit more forward, so that seems a little bit oddly printed. Okay. So the front end, we got those fog lights just painted in silver. Either that's a radiator or an intercooler. It's nice to see something printed here, right? Silvia, looks good. These clear headlamps look pretty nice. There looks like some details are behind it. Looks like some light bulbs. This must be the Silvia logo. It seems to be two colors. Pretty neat. It seems to be a water stain or something on this thing. Maybe I'll take a cloth to it later. A couple tiny bumps here for the wiper fluid. They're black on the real car. No big deal. Wiper blades. Okay, yeah, they're three-dimensional and they're painted black. I do kind of feel like this window isn't very clear either. So I don't know if like someone was fondling this thing before, or if it maybe it just came out. Well, let's see. All right, so that's better. Okay. Well, anyways, back here, the defroster lines, well, they're kind of weird. They're not very crisply printed, or they're too thick, or they're too translucent. They're like pretty wide lines, but they're not opaque. I feel like they're translucent, so it's interesting. You can see the interior. I only wish the lines were just a little thinner, or just have none at all. Okay, well anyways, the back end. So yeah, these taillights are pretty nice. Pretty thick plastic, orange, clearly red, and I guess that's supposed to be clear, transparent for the backups. And then this printing looks pretty nice here. Let's see. Yeah, okay, the Nissan, the Silvia, it's all well done. And this is actually accurate. It's weird, but the real car has a triangular third brake light. Unfortunately, the red isn't perfectly painted there, and unfortunately, it seems to be a little chipped there. Okay, three-dimensional exhaust pipes, pretty small diameter, considering the dental pick here. Anyways, it's not perfect, but it's still all right, I guess. A little tiny keyhole there. The wing struts do seem a little thick. I've seen thinner wing struts from other brands, but the actual wing itself up here seems alright. It's got a little lip to it, a little contaminant as well. And what is this? Alright, so that's just some extra gunk. Alright, so I guess it's time to maybe take a look at the interior. Let me get the flashlight. And what size the drivers? There we go. Whoa, I think this gauge is in there. I didn't expect that at all. Yeah, look at that. It's actually got an instrument cluster, so that's really great detail. And then there's some additional silver on the steering wheel. Look at the little, I think there's 2 buttons even painted silver on the bottom of the steering wheel. Ooh, that's unexpected. Alright, so shifter. Okay. What about the other side? So really, this details. It's definitely better than most Kyoshos, at least Kyosho blister packs, because they don't have any additional color in Kyoshos. There's this armrest, little cup holders. The seat seems to have like a grainy texture. The back plus 2 seats. I can't really see much of them. The windows are too small. Okay, so anyways, it's nice to see that there's actually some instruments in the dashboard, though. That's unexpected but pleasantly appreciated. Now you notice here the black on the window here is printed properly, it seems. This side is nice. Just this side they missed the mark. Too bad. Okay, so some minor QC issues here. So you know what, guys? I'm gonna just do this on camera so you can see how difficult. That screw was pretty tight. Wow, that screw is really tight as well. Okay, so you know what? While we're at it, why don't we just take a better look at the interior? I should have thought of that earlier. Alright, yeah, a little tiny silver here as well. Oh no, are those whole? No, that's silver. I thought it was air first, but no. So anyways, that's pretty cool. I think it's pretty neat. Yeah, those translucent defroster lines. Okay, so put that aside. Okay, so it's a little fiddly. You got 4 screws to hold on these wheels here. They're screwing into the plastic. Don't want to mix up the bottom plate screws don't have these flanges. So you probably don't want to mix up those, those screws there. Sorry, magnetic screwdriver. These are not as tight. Okay, so the BM's models steer. The front wheels can steer left and right on the BM's. But this one, oh no, it was just too tight, or it was locked in place. Okay, so if your steering is too tight, it's probably just one of the screws are too tight, because there's like a washer holding them down. Clearly, with no screws on it, it's going to steer pretty easily because there's no tension on it. Okay, so let's swap this thing out. Okay, and the washer there. So then the second wheel set, it already has the steering tie rod on there, and it seems like it's in the front position. Okay, so now you gotta put this washer back on. I guess if you really wanted to drop the car even more, you wouldn't put the washer on, because then the wheels would actually rise up even further. But let's just see what it looks like, you know, as intended by this company. This is the fiddly part. Or it might go out of focus. I'm just going to do this with my own eyes instead of trying to do it through the camera screen. Even doing it with my own eyes. It's quite fiddly. Okay, so I think that thing is in place. Alright, so let me get some screws back on that thing. Okay, well, it's definitely steerable. Alright, so the back end, from my experience with BMs, there actually is a left and a right. So I pulled them off in the same condition. I'm looking for like a tooth or something like that. B2, B1. Okay, so this is how they're labeled. So either A1 or B1 goes on the bottom. It's the first one to go on. That's why it's labeled 1. And hopefully you can see there is a little tooth there. And so that tooth, that doesn't match up though, does it? So that's interesting, because I'm not crazy here. This one says A1 and there is a tooth. But this B1, the tooth is in the other side. So it's labeled opposite. It's very counterintuitive. Right? So I think this one goes on top or something. Weird. Alright, well anyways, let's take a look at this one. B2. So in this case, B2, I assume that goes on the bottom because that's where the tooth is, right? Really strange. And then B1 goes on top. So yeah, it seems to be the opposite of what happened earlier. Oh, and now I'm noticing there's a tooth on this little washer as well. So I'm not sure if I actually put that on properly on the front. Okay, so I'll put that down for now. Where'd those screws go? Boy, I think just collapsed. Okay. So I'm curious. Oh, that's weird. It doesn't matter on the front, which makes sense because if there was a tooth, the thing wouldn't steer. So something new was learned. So it doesn't matter on the front what side the washer is facing, even though it has a tooth. They just needed the same mold. So yeah, I mean the tires are sunken into the wheel wells now. So now what about the rear camber? Yeah, you can see the rear wheels are cambered, meaning the inside edges are touching the ground whereas the outside is not. That's actually flat now. So it definitely changes the camber and the stance. I was just noticing the direction of the spokes, but these spokes are facing backwards. I guess that's a better way, and these spokes are facing forwards. So you get kind of like two different appearances to the car. Some real cars do that, you know, because if you rotate your tires and stuff, that's why they do it. It's easier. Although supercars and stuff, they literally have a different wheel for front, back, each corner because the front tires are thinner or less wide than the rears. So, but that's why supercars cost a lot more money. Okay, well, anyways, let's get this thing up on the Spin Master and let it go for a revolution before it enters my cabinet. Now, one nice thing about this, since it does steer, you can really simulate drifting, right? So if I'm drifting around a turn, that's pretty much it, right? Alright, that's cool. As you may have noticed, I like drift cars. I have a lot of other videos on drift cars in my collection, and I'm building like an RC drift car, and it's just fun. If you guys haven't tried RC drifting, I watched some videos on something called a WL Toys K989 or something like that, and just look it up, WL Toys Drift, and it's a small little 1/28 scale drift car that's like $60. It seems like a pretty great deal. So anyways, it's really fun. Okay, well anyways, that's a different topic, and I would have to say I like this Diecast Masters car quite a bit. I do like the BM's Creations models as well. I have a Subaru. In fact, I have it right here. This is the Subaru one. Oh, so now let's simulate this. The only thing weird about the BM Subaru is look how skinny the tires are. I don't know why they chose to do that, because the tires on this look normal, right? But the Impreza has goofy. Maybe this is like their very first one. And funny, yeah, this one actually says BM Creations on it, but this one's just blank. So possibly maybe a factory is making these models for both these companies, and this blank one is just they sell it to maybe some future other brands that, in the future, who knows. But anyways, let's try to simulate a drift scene. Alright, so it's a bit of a gimmick, having steering wheels, but if you want to actually have a dynamic looking diorama, it actually makes sense to have steerable wheels. So I actually like it. I like it a lot. I'm going to continue buying these cars that have these steering functions by either of these brands. I know BM's has like a small Suzuki Swift or something like that, and if it comes in a cool colorway, I'm going to get that thing for sure. And then they have a Lancer in a cool metallic orange. I think I'll pick that one up. And I think they have other Imprezas as well. Hopefully they don't have skinny tires like this white one. Alright, so I'm rambling on, 25 minutes, sorry. I might have to edit this film, and we'll see you guys in the next drift.